Hello ladies and gentlemen, Ghost here, and today I'm going to talk about the new dungeon in TERA called Kezzel's Gorge. This dungeon is pretty cool in the sense that we're getting a new monster and animations to look at, and it also gives TERA that much needed refresher in its endgame. So with that being said, I wanted to create this video to show you guys what to expect from the dungeon. This dungeon is a solid DPS race, which involves the use of environmental mechanics. You'll only be fighting one monster, which is the almighty Kezzel himself. Now this fight is pretty cool, but as with every other major dungeon in TERA, you'll need to coordinate with your group to complete it properly. Remember, there's no I in team. When you zone in, like standard procedure, say hello to your party members. Saying hello goes a long way in opening the door to communication within your group, so definitely say hello to let your group know you're ready to rock and roll. Once you've got your greetings and meetings in order, for the first timers, I suggest you take boss crystals, Crystalbinds, and your usual set of charms, including enduring charms, since Kezzel does hit like a Mack truck. Before you start, assign 3 players to man cannons and use barrels for the various areas of battle. Also, assign a player to use the drill and cannon for the final area. Don't worry, I'll explain these roles as I get to them. Make sure that this is decided before you start though, since you won't really have the time to decide these roles while fighting Kezzel on the fly. Remember, Kezzel is a tower defense map, so once you pull the lever, there is no stopping until Kezzel is dead, which could take up to around 10 to 15 minutes or so. Now this battle is split into 3 areas. We'll cover each area one at a time so you know what to expect from Kezzel. In this first area, we're going to fight Kezzel in a head-on battle. Kezzel is a molten giant rock boss that has several moves that deal ridiculous amounts of damage to players that don't have high defense values. Kezzel's primary move involves Stomps, which deal large AoE damage to players caught within its envelope. By general rule of thumb, players should always be looking for Kezzel's left foot to stomp the ground, since it has the largest range and is the most deadly foot in any situation. Sometimes it'll two-shot players if he stomps back to back, so unless you feel like being a pancake, it's important to be vigilant about which foot is rising and which foot is falling. In addition to his stomps, Kezzel also has a Sideswipe animation and a 1 and 2 hit combo in which he'll swat the ground with an arm towards a player in front of him. Finally, Kezzel has a Boulder attack where he'll use floating bits of rock around his body to form a large boulder, which he'll hurl at a random party member in a large circular AoE attack. Now we've fought Kezzel for a while now, and he's decided that he's bored with fighting us, so he'll rampage out through the southern barricade and begin a stomp-like walk towards our second area. Players should be very cautious of his stomp move, which is a 2-hit combo in which Kezzel will step forward with his right foot, and then next with his left foot. DPS and healers can usually avoid a typical right foot stomp because he always moves forward with his right foot. Just be aware of the left foot however, as it still deals enormous amounts of damage. This is where we want to have 3 pre-assigned players ready to get ahead of Kezzel to hop in cannons that will all shoot within 30 seconds of each other to bring him down. If you're assigned to man cannons, don't forget to do it immediately after the barricade breaks. You won't have much time before Kezzel stomps down the cannons on his way to Area 2, so don't waste a moment. If you don't hit them within 30 seconds of each other, it's not the end of the world. You've just missed your knockdown opportunity, that's all. You still dealt a ton of necessary damage to the boss, so keep fighting and just move on. If you fail to hit him with the cannon however, you'll most definitely want to make use of the barrels in the second area to add safe DPS time to Kezzel. Once he's made his arrival to the second area, the fight is identical to the first area with 2 major differences. The first difference is that there will be barrels along the walls that players can pick up, place, and hit to knock Kezzel down, adding safe DPS time. With barrels, you'll want to coordinate with 3 people to pick up and put down at the same time, just like the cannon mechanic. The second difference is that Kezzel will now begin to use a whip-like animation where he'll randomly face a usually ranged character and whip the ground in their direction. If this whip hits you, well, usually your goose is cooked. One very clever use of the barrels is to save them for the walk towards the final area, and place all 3 barrels in front of Kezzel on his way there. When he stomps on them, he'll certainly need to see a doctor for that massive fall he's taken. If your group has got this far without too many hiccups and strong DPS, you should be closing in somewhere between 40 to 50% health on the boss, if not actually lower, before reaching the final area. If you're at 60% health before reaching the final area, it'll be very difficult to finish Kezzel off before you run out of time. In the final area, the stakes are high here. You will need to have one assigned player who is confident with operating mechanics to climb up to the top of the ladder located on the north side of the final area and man the controls of the drill and cannon. The drill and cannon are usually operational 2 times before Kezzel breaks the door open. The rest of the party will continue to DPS Kezzel and avoid his primary stomps, whips, and a massive new AoE attack he uses once he enters the final area. Players should always be watching Kezzel once entering the area because they may find themselves as a target of a massive AoE strike, which sometimes one-shots party members. If you're a Berserker or a Lancer, you can block the attack, so keep that in mind in case you don't think you'll have enough time to get out of the way of the attack. For the player on the drill or the cannon, periodically Kezzel will step away from the door and cast a large AoE ability at the party in a very particular spot. This is where the drill operator will hit the switch to engage the drill. Once engaged, the other players will need to stand clear of Kezzel, otherwise the drill might one-shot them. Shortly after the drill has been used, the cannon will be usable as well, so the operator should remain at the top of the cliff until the cannon spawns and shoots Kezzel with the cannon, dealing a large amount of damage to him. For the rest of the party DPSing Kezzel on the ground, this will be the most difficult part of the fight because Kezzel will sometimes randomly turn around and stomp in the middle of the party with his left foot, knocking everyone down and giving the healer a huge headache. Again, this is where it's important to be vigilant about which foot is rising and which foot is falling. Make sure you're watching for the left foot. Healers should try to maintain a middle ground range on Kezzel, not too far in case he does his massive AoE fire strike, and not too close enough to get hit by the stomp. Should you lose your healer in the final area during the fight, you should be attempting to res him or her as soon as possible. Be mindful of your timing when you resurrect, and make sure the boss isn't doing anything dangerous while you're getting up. Many first-time players will die during this boss because they haven't seen the new animation or BAM of this type or scale before. Don't be discouraged if you lose a few party members in the process. You have to be willing to lend as much of a helping hand as possible to ensure the success of the group. So don't be afraid to offer suggestions or volunteer to make ends meet. Remember, practice makes perfect, guys. If you don't get it right today, evaluate yourself and try again tomorrow. Play hard, play smart, Ghost out.